Hi, I'm Brandon. I love Hallmark Christmas movies.
I'm Brian, and I like Hallmark Christmas movies.
I'm Dan, and I despise Hallmark Christmas movies.
And I'm TV Scotty, and I'm happy to finally be here.
And this is the Deck the Hallmark podcast. Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast.
Brandon and friends host this podcast.
We hope you like this jolly podcast.
We're finally here, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Marathon Hallmark week.
Yep.
Yeah.
8 movies, 7 days of Deck the Hallmark.
On one compact disc. And do you...
For a low price.
Yeah.
Brent, how was your Thanksgiving, buddy?
Fantastic. Thank
Good?
you for asking me. This is the first time you've asked me
This is
about
the first time I've asked you.
First
about
all
it.
week.
It
How was yours? Good?
Mine was really good, too. Thanks for
Yeah.
asking
Right.
me.
Brian
Good to
came
hear.
over to my house
I did.
yesterday. We had
That's
a
right.
wonderful time.
That's right.
Wonderful time.
And Dan, I just made you look.
That's
Over
right.
the fence.
Over the
Wasn't
fence.
invited. Just
Yep.
kept looking over. What are you guys doing?
You did get
Nothing.
it. You did get an invite. But...
Anyone
T.
Anyone
Scotty's
care
here.
how my Thanksgiving was?
Scotty,
Scott,
how
how's
was
it
your
going,
Thanksgiving?
buddy?
How was yours?
Listen, I had that prime rib. I'm part of the Steak Party 2024, and
That's right.
it was wonderful.
You get it.
Now,
You get
for
it.
those of you out there that have never heard Scott's voice before, this is actually honestly, we should have planned it. And if we did, we would have still had you on today's episode.
That's right.
Because Scott and I host a podcast called Christmas Morning. And today is the first day of daily episodes leading up to Christmas. And so head on over to christmasmorningpodcast.com and subscribe if you aren't already. But Scott and I, we count down to Christmas all year long, every single week, doing all sorts of stuff like song, music battles and TV listings, the exciting stuff. And so, Scott, I'm happy that you're finally here. Merry Christmas to you officially, buddy.
Well, thank you, Brandon. I'm psyched to be here because I've been listening to you guys for 3 years or more. Is
Yeah.
it more now? I don't even remember when I started. It's been a very long time.
I feel like it's been a while. It was definitely before COVID. I mean, you were around in 19, right?
I was there probably from the second or third episode.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so
yeah.
you've been listening. This is the 5th
This is
season.
the
we've done
5th
it.
season.
Yeah. It's a long
Yeah.
time.
And I just kept emailing you and bugging you, and then I started doing some social media graphics for Take the Day Off, and then
That's
we
right.
finally got the chance to do a show together, and I love it. I love doing Christmas morning. This is our busy season, though, and it's a little hard. It's like diving into the icy water when you start doing the daily episodes, especially when you're used to weekly, but it's fun. It's a labor of love.
Well, because you and I record that podcast at the North Pole every morning.
day.
So,
it's
like,
a complete schedule change.
When you're doing it every
Yeah.
week, it's, one day up and no big deal. But a daily, because I still got to come back. I got to do like the Hallmark.
Yep.
We
Yeah,
record
yeah,
that
we
in
don't- yeah.
Greenville.
No
obviously.
leeway for you.
No,
And so it's a lot. But you know what? I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy that you're here, Scott. And I'm glad that you had a good Thanksgiving, buddy.
So
Thank you.
we could really say Scott is long time, first time, right?
Long time,
Yeah,
first
long
time on this
yeah.
podcast.
That's right.
Exactly. I went from AAA ball, Daniel, to making the show today.
Man,
So
you're in the
this is-
show.
I'm in the
Cup
show.
of coffee.
We always ask our first time guests if they have any relationship advice that they need.
Relationship advice? No one
Yeah,
has
dude.
ever asked me for that. No one ever will.
No, I'm
do
asking
you
you
need
if
any?
you
If
need any.
need any from us?
Oh, do I need any? No, I've been successfully married for over 15 years now.
Wow.
I love my wife
Congratulations.
dearly. She puts up with me. I think I must be doing things okay.
There you go.
Look at you. Look
Man.
at, I really expected him to give me something. But
Did you make the prime rib, Scotty?
Oh, absolutely. I do all
you
the
did.
cooking in my house.
That's what I'm talking about.
I don't know. I had some kind of buy one, get one on prime rib over the summer. It was sitting in the freezer, and I said, I'm going to stick this thing on the smoker.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Wow.
talking about.
What
It was
did you
great.
do?
I don't
What
like
did you
roast
make?
turkey.
Oh, I don't like turkey at all. I made a beef tenderloin,
Right.
And I smoked it and then seared it, and then the next day, I actually said this. I made you a sandwich.
You made me a sandwich. You handed it over the fence.
I did. I tasted the sandwich that I made, and I said, if this is why everybody loves the leftovers so much, I finally get it. Because I diced up that leftover
I like it how
tenderloin.
you dice. You just kind of
little
like this.
dice, and then
Little
I just got it, over a pan with some provolone cheese and made a little Philly cheesesteak
Yeah.
sandwich,
Yeah.
and it was great
The
Yeah.
most expensive Philly cheesesteak in
of
the history
all time.
of
Yeah,
the world,
of
right?
all time.
But it
Yeah.
was good. Yeah, Dan told me to come outside. It was late at night. He handed me a sandwich over the fence.
That's
It was
right.
like a weird drug deal.
It was
but,
a weird drug deal, but just for a
um,
Philly cheesesteak
yeah.
sandwich. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Are we ready to talk about Haul Out the Holly, the
Born ready
first movie that we're covering this week. We are going out of order from basically most interested to least interested.
And Lacey gets a bump.
Lacey gets a bump. It's the Lacey bump.
Sure.
She's the queen of Christmas now.
I've heard that
on the Hallmark channel. They're really driving
she's
that
like
home.
Glenda the Good Witch now compared to the past.
That's right. They're just really I don't feel like when CCB was the focus of this week that they were this heavy-handed with the Queen of Christmas.
They have
situation.
to do it this year.
They're going very hard.
Got to.
Let's talk about Haul Out the Holly. It originally aired on November 26, 2022, and it went a little something like this. Emily grew up in a Christmas wonderland. The neighborhood that she grew up on, the block, is all about Christmas. She wakes up on Christmas morning as a kiddo, and her parents are like, there's no time for gifts. We got to go do the Christmas carnival. She's like, I just want to open a present. They're like, fine, you can open one present, and it's a Polaroid camera. Yay! To take pictures at the carnival. Yay. She's not thrilled that her one gift is going to be a chore, but this little boy neighbor named Jared comes over and is pumped about the Polaroid camera. They take a Polaroid selfie together. That's actually where the selfie came from.
Wow, they invented the selfie.
They invented the selfie. Not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of people know that. It's a documentary with what's this guy's name?
Clarence, Caden.
Maybe we'll talk about him later this week. Flash forward, we see grown-up Emily continues to work on her Christmas to-do list and is kind of overwhelmed, and she's surprised to find her boyfriend Dan is home, not at work, playing the VR video games. Have you guys done VR?
Never done the VR.
I'm intrigued by the VR.
They named this character Dan, though, which
does feel right. I'm intrigued by VR, but I'm also scared by it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to...
You're scared.
Yeah.
You think it's like Mark of the Beast?
Dude, what if I get locked in there?
You can't get out.
You can't get out.
What if you get locked into your VR machine?
Yeah.
You live there forever.
Yeah, I don't understand this at all.
It's a risk.
I'm more worried about throwing up.
Yeah, fair. That's what I mean.
That's a better concern.
Anyways, just doing the VR.
Did you virtually eat too many cookies?
Oh my gosh.
You're too dumb for virtual reality if you get locked in there.
Dude, you don't understand. You forget. You don't realize you're like levels deep into the VR. I do VR inside VR.
And
then I'm like,
Inception thing.
I don't think that's how you're supposed
we're
to do
like the fourth level of
fourth level. I don't know. I'm locked in. You guys get it. Finally. Thank you. Anyway, they break up is what I'm trying to say. And she is like, you got to move out. And he's like, well, actually, I put my name on the lease when we had to re-up it. Sorry about that. Get out of here. Scram. So he's cool. She calls her parents and they convince her to come home for Christmas. But they're also being very weird about this. And then when they get off the phone, they start undecorating everything. When she gets there, they tell her that they're going to Florida right now. They're leaving. They're going to move there. Goodbye. Thank you for coming. Also, you need to decorate everything so you don't disappoint the neighborhood. See you. Bye. Merry Christmas. Jared shows up, and he's quite the hunk now with those classic Hallmark 2022 glasses that we've seen in a few movies now, and I think we're all better for it. He works for the HOA and writes Emily up for not putting up her Christmas decorations despite being incredibly charming at the same time, and invites her to the Christmas tree lighting. Jared explains to her that she is required to fill in for her parents while they're out of town. It's in the bylaws. She's like, well, I think that the HOA ruins Christmas, to be quite honest with you. So please just let me enjoy the holidays. And so he just basically carols in front of her door until she finally agrees to come to the HOA meeting. A cookie contest happens, and the woman who always wins. Emily used too much salt, and by too much salt, I mean only salt. Jared tells her that everyone is really disappointed that there aren't more lights and any lights outside, and so he calls over the entire street to come decorate the house. The street then sneaks away snuck away, snake away. They're snaked.
Sneaked away.
They don't snake a snake.
You don't
They
snake
did.
a snake.
And Jared and Emily are now by themselves, and so they have hot chocolate together. It's almost like the town's in cahoots. He tells her that her parents only talk about her, and he lists off a ton of facts about her. But then she's like, I don't know. Also, I got to go meet the cookie lady, Pamela, to work on the snowman tableau. They work together, and Pamela starts to let her guard down, be a little bit more open, and it seems to be a little bit more happy that she's hanging out with Emily. Palaha shows up, and we're better for that. His daughter asks if Jared and Emily are dating and holding hands yet. And then Palaha does his Jimmy Stewart impression. Thank God, Mary, last of the moon for you, Palaha. We get a snowman competition followed by a no rules snowball fight. She shows up to Jared's Christmas party with the Polaroid camera, and her and Jared recreate the picture from childhood. He shows her that he still has that picture and puts the new one right next to the old one. Emily learns that Jared is really stressed right now. There's a lot going on to get ready for the carnival, and they still need a Santa for it. So she finds one. Jared does not seem thrilled about this. So she calls her mom to talk about why she might thinks that Jared's upset about this. And he's like, well, maybe he wanted to be Santa. You ever think about that, huh? She's like, yes. So she goes over and asks if he'd be the Santa and is absolutely thrilled by that. And she does this whole like, I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy asking if you know, it's the cute time. It's Christmas carnival time, everybody. Pamela's husband isn't going to make it home for the holidays, but Emily's going to see what she can do. He does show up. They run to each other, and it's Eric Mabius from Signed, Sealed, Delivered. I'm yours. Jared officially is Santa, having a good time, got the Santa suit, and is having the absolute best night of his life. Emily wakes up the next morning. It's Christmas Day, and she comes downstairs, and there's a tiny gift underneath the tree. Suddenly, her parents pop up. They tell her, hey, open up the present. It's the keys to the house. They're giving her the house. Everyone then shows up to Carol. She goes outside, has a conversation with Jared, writes him a citation to kiss her. They do kiss. And that, my friends, was Haul Out the Holly.
We did it.
We did do it, everybody. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back, and we'll break this movie down with 4 segments with our good friend TV Scotty here on
Deck the Hallmark.
Nailed it.
You didn't say anything.
Dang it. You know, I don't know. I was so happy for you guys.
We didn't nail it if you didn't say anything.
But you guys were
You say it
there
every time.
We're back, everybody. Welcome to Deck the Hallmark. We're breaking down Haul Out the Holly here on a wonderful Monday. You okay?
I'm all right.
Man, you look
Just
like
a little emotional.
you're really excited about this week.
I really am.
I know we got a lot to do this week.
Yeah,
if you're going to start crying this
That's
first.
right. I know
Yeah.
I can't make it. I
Pace
can't make
yourself.
it. I'm going to do my best.
Brian, let's start with you. Brian, what did you think of Haul Out the Holly?
Sure. So this started out and ended with narration, which
Narration.
Oh,
narration.
forget about it.
so right off the bat, there's nothing I can do.
Right.
This one, I started out my notes. So I had big time Christmas with the Cranks vibes, which Brand we mentioned while we were watching this. We both love that
We
movie.
both love Christmas. with the
And
Cranks.
so I'm
watched it last night.
so happy to hear that.
Good,
for you.
buddy. Good for you.
Love that movie. And I started in my notes. I wrote, "This is pretty funny. This is fun." And then my next line is, "I've laughed harder at this scene than any other movie." So there was a point in this where I laughed harder.
Did you write down
and-
which scene it was?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I know
Do
what
you wanna-
scene it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you do. Do you want to try to guess?
Oh, it's the hardest I've ever laughed.
Wow. Should we save it for the feels?
I'll say it
Yeah,
is my
yeah.
feel.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I will,
Because I think if there's one thing I know about you, and I don't know, maybe you'll say this at another point, but like
Sure.
There's no feels.
there's no feels like
funny
funny
feels
feels
for
for you.
you know what?
I think
I'm
that's
starting to realize
something-
that might
I think
be
that's
true.
something that you might come to a realization to sometime
That
this
feels
week.
true.
But I'm just going to throw out there
Yeah.
right now.
Huh,
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm gonna let sit on that, and
Okay.
then we'll see
Yeah,
later
Okay.
if that comes back.
Okay.
So this cast was just phenomenal. Melissa Peterson as Pamela, love that. This had Martin from Cozy Inn Christmas in it.
Cozy
Steven
Christmas
Steven
Inn.
Tobolowsky.
Tobolowsky. I mean, come on, all his Ned's attention to detail was just warming my heart the whole time, just laughing at every line he said. This is my number one movie. It bumps Cozy Christmas in.
Wow. For your
I didn't think it was
ratings?
going to happen all year.
For your
Cozy
ratings?
Christmas in.
My rating system, it bumps it. I haven't even done the numbers yet. I already know it.
Okay.
I already know it.
If not, we'll fudge the numbers.
Yeah,
I'll make it work.
As
As soon as
science.
he gets there, he can just
I'm
make
starting to
those
think
numbers.
this rating system might be rigged.
No, it's not
Reverse
rigged.
engineered. What'd you say?
No.
Say Rick?
So this had
Your
just
rating
so much.
system's really stupid.
And some of the best one-liners in a movie. I had a blast with this movie.
All right. TV Scotty?
I want to set the record straight before I start here because I'm already seeing in the chat someone said he hates these movies more than Dan. Not quite fair. I very rarely ever watch a Hallmark movie. I've maybe seen 4 or 5 in their completeness, whatever the word is, in my life. Usually, it's not the word.
It's
channeling my inner Bran here.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I'll hear you guys talk about a movie, and then if it's coming on, I'll turn it on in the background on the television, maybe mute it, and just kind of see the Christmas scenes in the movie. But I don't typically watch these. They're not really my thing, but I had high hopes for this movie. I love Lacey Chabert. She is so pretty. She is so adorable that it hurts to look at her sometimes. I wanted this movie to be great.
Okay?
Yeah, I'll be all right.
I don't know if you like her as much as you think you do. If it hurts, you should get that
to
checked.
look at her.
But this movie was a bunch of cute vignettes strung together by one of the dumbest plots I've ever seen in my life. And I wanted to love it. I really did, everybody. But, it was just okay.
Can you give people really quick some background on your experience with HOAs?
Yes. Okay.
Maybe this is it.
Okay, good. I am the right person to have on today with this movie. This is my 3rd house that I'm living in now that has been under an HOA. I've lived in HOAs for over 15 years, so I'm very familiar with them. This is not how HOAs work at all. It makes no sense that an HOA would force you to decorate for Christmas. It is possible. I don't know every HOA that has ever existed. Yeah, I guess somebody could have come up with one that has rules that say this, but I doubt you'd get an entire neighborhood of people to vote on that and agree to it. I'm assuming you guys don't have an HOA because Bran has a 20-foot abominable snowman next to his house.
I have an HOA.
We don't have one.
Okay,
No.
but so Brian's with me here. The way that an HOA works is you have a document called a CCR. It's a covenant, a code,
Creedence
and
Clearwater
restriction.
Revival. Yes.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
one of those.
It must play live every summer.
That's right.
At the
Gosh, I
pool.
freaking wish, dude.
And they typically
if
say,
that's what an HOA was, I'd
Sign me up
join.
right now. The HOA for the CCR.
but an HOA typically says what you cannot do. They don't really mandate what you must do. But I can suspend disbelief and say, all right, in this magical fantasy land, they've got an HOA that, forces people to decorate for Christmas. Okay, I'll go with that. Although, no, it's in real life that this is never going to happen. And just so you know, Bran, I lived in that neighborhood in Florida. You're probably too young to remember. Daniel probably remembers, back in the early 2000s, we were the neighborhood that made the news because they didn't want to let people put the yellow ribbons on the trees.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
boy, did everyone come down on that. But it was a tough time.
In the world.
Tough time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Scott, per usual, you're wrong.
Yeah, of course. I figured.
This movie is amazing, first of all.
Okay.
Absolutely adored it. The funniest Hallmark Christmas movie I've ever seen. And that is coming after what I already said was the funniest Hallmark Christmas movie I've ever seen. What a funny year. It's been very funny. But very, very funny. I absolutely adored this movie. I was shocked to find out that Scott's not alone on this. Our buddy Patrick from Lifetime Uncorked also hated this movie. I went on the Hallmark socials towards the end of this. There's a lot of people that did not like this movie. So maybe it's a bit more polarizing than I thought it was going to be. But I thought this movie was hilarious. I thought everybody was incredibly charming. I thought everybody was so perfectly casted that this movie couldn't have actually been written the way way that it was portrayed because it was so perfect. Everyone was so perfect. There's no way that they were written that perfectly for the people that they casted. It had to have been worked on set because it was just so perfect. I love this movie. It's my new number 1 for the year.
What?
I know. I can't believe
You
it.
just said The Ghost of Christmas Always was the best Hallmark movie of all time.
I know. This one's better.
You think this one's better?
This one's better.
But the plot
I know.
makes no sense at all.
Makes all the sense.
I tried to rewrite the movie in my brain last night after seeing this and come up with a better way because the whole idea is they're going to set her up to fail to see if she, I don't know, has the mettle to live in this Christmas neighborhood. Why would you do that? These are the worst parents in the world, by the way. The whole you can open one gift on Christmas thing, monsters.
Sure. I will say this because I have gone very hard on The Ghost of Christmas Always. Is the best
I'm pretty sure you brought like Jesus into the mix when talking about The Ghost of Christmas Always.
Sure. That does sound like something I would do. But the good news is this: Jesus is coming back.
Amen.
And I think he came back in the form of this movie.
Oh my gosh.
I am going to rewatch Ghost of Christmas Always by the end of the year. So there's a chance when we do our exclusive ranking episode for the double deckers that I end up with Ghost of Christmas Always at number 1 because that movie is like a phenomenal flick. But this movie is what I don't know. Maybe it was just that I always really appreciate Lacey Chabert, but she's never been like towards the top of my list. But I thought she was so good in this movie. Wes Brown knocked it out of the park. The two of them, dynamite, the cameos, it was all working for me.
I didn't notice any of the cameos because I'm not familiar with Hallmark actors. So when you said Palaha, I was like, well,
I would say this. If it was probably a bad one if you've never, like, for Scott to jump in on this one.
Yeah.
Because this movie definitely doesn't play by any of the rules of Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
But I laughed out loud. There were very, very funny parts. And as individual pieces, little vignettes, they were hilarious. But as a whole, I didn't like the love story. It does not make any sense to me. Maybe you guys can explain it to me later.
When two people like each other.
That's right.
No.
At Christmas.
Dan, what are you going to be less of a Grinch?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Here's what Scott's right about. The movie's patently absurd. It's absurd. It doesn't make any sense. The parents, their entire plot line doesn't make any sense. Most of the characters in the movie don't make any sense. But it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. It is hilarious. It's the funniest movie Hallmark has ever done. It's not even particularly close. And here's why. It's because it knows that it's being absurd. The movie knows that it's being absurd. It has great supporting cast. The best supporting cast we've ever seen. Yeah. Steven Tobolowsky, Melissa Peterman are both amazing. Steven Tobolowsky basically getting to play another Ned character like he did in Groundhog Day. Those two are at the peak of their powers. Lacey's never been better. Wes has never been better. And then, you get Palaha, and maybe it's to show up with your fun. But the movie is 100% satirical. It is not meant to stand on its own without the knowledge of what Hallmark movies are and what they've come to be over the course of the last couple of decades. And if you have that knowledge built in, you get to see everyone operating at a 10 of 10. And have I mentioned, it's really, really funny. Ghost of Christmas Always, a better movie because it has a sincere bone in its body and tries something that's very difficult with Christmas magic. This movie is a farce and a satire and absurdist, but boy, is it good. Yeah. Second on my list, definitely like this one.
Dan liked the movie?
I liked the
Dan
movie.
liked it. Like the movie. Dan liked the movie.
Oh, you broke it. You broke the
That
tin.
was my grandmother.
Singing the
Dan like the movies.
Wow.
Movies plural.
Yeah.
Two in a
movies.
year.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you guys. I laughed the whole way through.
Wow.
I laughed the whole way. This is a good movie.
Wow.
It's a good movie.
Wow. Let's talk about the feels, shall we?
Let's do it.
While I catch my breath, I'm going to throw it over to my good friend Brian. I don't know if you saw, I got on the table for 2 seconds and I got down. So this is about the most working out I've done in quite some time.
A foot and a half step up, and a foot and a half step down.
I know. Brian, any feels for you in this one, buddy?
Yeah, lots of feels. Funny feels, obviously, but I guess like genuine, regular feeling feels was when the whole neighborhood helped her decorate the house. That's great. That was great feels. And that was big time Christmas with the Cranks vibes. And the ultimate feel of this movie and of the season for me so far, I laughed harder at the scene than any in a movie that I can remember was when Pamela was standing up singing "Oh Holy Night" during the party. And I almost need to get out my inhaler.
Just belting, fall on your knees.
It was phenomenal.
I mean, come on, man.
And the old guy was like blown back in his seat by it. I loved that. I did legitimately laugh out loud.
That is how it's done.
Did you get any feels, Scotty?
I did. A lot like Brian. Most of them were funny feels. The Pamela singing, obviously. I mean, I laughed in the first, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes when she goes to the cookie decorating contest and her friend there, I don't remember her friend's name, but she says, well, I didn't expect the Great British Bake Off. And I was like, all right, this movie is going to be pretty funny. The other scene where they were talking and I think it was Ned that threw a snowball at Emily's character when she was a kid. And the wife said, hey, talk into the other ear. That may be the one you hit with a snowball. That was funny.
That was really funny.
And the storage unit, that gave me feels like, the heartwarming Christmas feels because what was Wes's character's name? Whatever it was, doesn't
Jared.
matter. He was like, I love it. And Brian, I could just imagine you and I at what's that show where Storage Wars, where they would bid on a
Storage Wars Christmas edition.
They would bid on that. You and I would be battling each other to outdo each other on the bids for that. I loved it.
I wish I could say that's where I got the 20-foot abominable snowman, but no, that was sought out.
Yep,
purchased
found that one
full price. I got this is something I've been waiting for a long time. And so, Scott, I'm sure that this didn't mean anything to you, but in watching a lot of these movies and watching the ones on Netflix, one of the things that Netflix movies do all the time is they'll be watching a Netflix Christmas movie.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, why has Hallmark never done that? Like, why have they never had somebody sit down and watch a Hallmark Christmas movie inside of a Hallmark Christmas movie? And they did that in this one. She sat down. I thought they were just gonna throw it like this. No big deal. She's like, I hope it's the one where she falls in love with the person who ended up being a prince. I was like, okay, let's get a little more specific. They get more specific. She presses play. It says Christmas in Vienna, which is a Hallmark movie. And she says, oh, I love him. Yeah. And the him in Christmas in Vienna is Brennan Elliott, who she's been in a million of these movies.
All of my Heart trilogy.
Which I just thought it was so great, so perfect that if they were going to pick one, it's one with Brennan Elliott, who she can say, I love him. I thought that was wonderful. And I found out later in looking up the director that the director directed that movie.
Oh, come on.
So another little tie-in. I thought all that was wonderful.
Would it have been funnier if she sat down to watch a movie that she starred in?
Yeah, it would have been funny.
Yeah, that's straight. It's just how absurd you want to get here.
Yeah, okay. She could have put on one of hers and been like, oh, she's not my favorite.
It was funny.
Like that.
They could have done a lot actually. They could have put on any actress or actor on the screen and say, oh, they're not my favorite. That they took the high road.
The high road.
Yeah. But I loved it. I'm happy that it finally happened.
Yeah. Dan? I would say anytime Stephen Tobolowsky's character Ned opens his mouth, were the feels for me. Everything the dude said was a stitch. Him asking about the coals,
that was funny.
What kind? He's like, well, I know they came out of the ground, stupid. Like that scene was great. Him throwing the snowballs, him talking about planning, everything. He said,
I've never told anyone this before.
Dude, I've never told anyone this before. I'm building a retractable roof for my house. Dude, I'm just telling you. In the preview episode, I specifically said, Stephen Tobolowsky's in this movie. One of my snowmen or candy canes or whatever was just for that guy. And not in my wildest dreams could I have imagined they would let him just do whatever he wanted.
Do anything.
And it was
they let him
so great.
Say anything. I want to hear the lines that they cut out.
Oh my
clearly,
gosh.
a lot of stuff. He's just like,
oh man,
it's just
I would
filler,
watch
right?
outtakes from this movie in a minute. But, Daniel, what was the homage they were doing there when Lacey finally relents, or not Emily, sorry, she relents and says, "Fine, you can decorate my house," and they have this kind of montage where they're all like walking up to the house with ladders and toolboxes and stuff. It felt like I've seen that in a movie, and I could not remember what it was.
Yeah, it did feel like they were doing something there.
The one thing that it did remind me of is in the Santa Claus when they thing
about with ZZ Top.
It kind of reminded me a little of that, but I don't think that's what
she says. Alrighty then, almost like Ace Ventura. Ned is after Groundhog Day. There are definitely a few moments that feel as though they're calling back other movies. But I was in this, even when Stephen Tobolowsky's character is not talking, if you just watch him in scenes, He is not waiting for his turn to speak. He is all in on this character and having the best time. Yeah. And that made me laugh really, really hard.
Have you thought about therapy? I've been in therapy for years. Have you thought about a new therapist? That was great.
It's a great bit. Let's take one more quick break. We'll come back to the Wait, What, and the What. The Hallmark here on Deck the Hallmark on WTVRV.
Stinger.
The dog.
I do want to make sure I get this straight. It's WTRV.
It's WTRV.
DVR.
Yes.
WTRV DVR.
It's not. It's the dog.
It's
Stinger.
DVR for short.
Yeah.
WTRV DVR.
WTVR VVR. Guys, let's get to the Wait What's of this movie. If there were any, Brian.
This is hard because this was great from stem to stern.
They said it in the movie.
They did.
They did. And
Dan, did you write this movie?
It seemed to be a lot.
Yeah,
I did.
Remember that tear Dan went on for about a month where
movie.
he said that every single week? Yeah.
Yeah, we're still living it.
Just a month, Scott? Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought you listened
I'm your
to the
biggest
show.
fan, Daniel.
Yeah.
This one was really hard because, like you said, it was sort of satirical. It was like they were winking at the camera with a lot of the things that they were doing. So when you wanted to call out something that was kind of silly, it was like, well, they're doing it on purpose. Like they're just doing a great job.
Stuff.
And so that's why I think maybe that is why it's so polarizing, because people who don't get that it's a bit, they're playing a bit here a little bit. The only thing I really could write down here, when she used salt instead of sugar, you would obviously taste test if you don't know what's in the container.
You bake things like fudge, right?
Yeah, I bake fudge, any other things like that,
I'm diabetic though, Brian. Maybe I could go with some of your salt fudge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep my blood sugar
absolutely. Down. Forget the sugar.
Bake it up.
Yeah. A lot of sodium's good for you too.
Hey, listen, something's going to kill me, Dan.
If it's not one thing, it's the other. And the only thing is the no rule snowball fight. It just seemed like they had some rules.
They had plenty of rules. So many rules in the no rules snow. You got to stay on your side of the street.
You got to hide behind your snowman.
Apparently, you can only aim at the person in front of you. Oh, there's so many rules in the no rules snowball fight.
A lot of rules.
I mean, no rules. You've seen so many WWE like
no hold.
Oh no.
Holds bar.
Yeah.
Come on, they're not playing by the.
That's exactly right. You can't. Although yes, you're correct. Scotty, anyway, what's for you?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. I'm going to try to pare them down a little bit here, okay? First, why was she with this idiot for 3 years and she didn't know that he's terrible at giving gifts? Wouldn't this have been at least their second Christmas? That didn't make any sense. Also, why would she put up with him? Because they don't make her out to be a pushover in the movie, especially at the beginning. She has a lot of moxie to her. So me and my wife are both like, why would she be with this doofus? Also, you would not be able to renew her lease in his name. And if he did, she would have gotten her security deposit back. So that doesn't make any sense at all.
Take him to Judge Judy. Yo, gabble, gabble.
Yeah, exactly. One of the ones I really can't figure out, I hope you can tell me, why was Pamela in one of the Polaroids from the photos that Emily took as a 9-year-old? Because she said she used to take her daughter to Evergreen Lane, and she's lived here for 5 years.
She said she went
was
as
there
a kid
30
every
years
year.
ago?
Yeah. So my guess is because.
Yeah, she said she used to come back every year for Christmas when she was a kid. That's the way
I don't know why.
Right.
I guess they could have asked for her name. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fair. These are the worst fake snowmen I've ever seen in a Hallmark movie.
Oh,
and
my
that's
gosh,
saying something.
Yeah.
Those were straight from Joanne Fabrics, the big foam balls there. Also, did they shovel snow into the street for the snowman building contest? Because there was sidewalk that was clear, then there was snow, then there was road again. That was weird. I pulled a full Brian here, and I did a little research. There's no such thing as a Nepalese ghost pepper. Ned said that was his secret ingredient in the ginger snap cookies.
No such thing.
I'm surprised by that.
Well,
they
there
made
are
up
Nepalese
from
peppers.
South Carolina.
The ghost pepper, yeah.
Yeah.
They just made up a pepper.
Maybe he grew it himself.
Maybe.
Ned.
Somebody
Yeah.
Somebody in the movie says, be careful, these are heavy, about the bins in the garage, and these people are taking them down with one hand. They were obviously not heavy. That bugged me. She says, this will be the best nutcracker in the neighborhood. When she gets it out of storage, it was not the best nutcracker in the neighborhood. It was a tiny little thing. There are huge nutcrackers all over the place in the neighborhood.
Yeah, Jared's nutcracker was better than her nutcracker.
And at one point, Jared measures the nutcracker and he says it's 42 inches. And then later in the movie, he measures it again and he says barely 36. It's the same nutcracker, I'm pretty sure.
That's right. Yeah, he went from 42 to 36 into the movie.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Pamela says she has a PhD in arts and crafts, not a thing. Jared opens the mailbox and puts something in there. I looked it up. Federal offense. You cannot
illegal.
put something without
Okay.
a postage stamp in there.
All right, rules police.
Also,
I
listen,
can't help you
listen.
there.
I'm representing the HOA here. Also, being the president of the HOA, and I see people in the chat here saying that their husbands are president of the HOA, does not give you the right to trespass on people's properties and look in their windows. So you can't do that. That bugs
This seems really personal for Scott.
It really does. And I had just a couple more. Bear with me here. She opens a box that says, Christmas memories, do not throw out. What? That didn't make any sense. Ned was looking at the words for Jingle Bells during the sing-along.
No, they're looking for the chords. To play the guitar chords.
Oh, all right. Thank goodness.
Thank
goodness, because that was stupid even by this. The white elephant party that they have. One person brings earmuffs, rainbow earmuffs. Another person brings a Ninja Speedy. I looked up the price of a Ninja Speedy, $159 right now at Kohl's. You can still get the Black Friday deal. What's a pair of earmuffs? $8 maybe. So there's a little discrepancy in the price of things.
It's just like the snowball fight, Scott. There's no rules.
Well, yeah, that's the worst white elephant party in the world. And finally, Santa's walking around without his beard at the end on Christmas Eve.
Had that one.
That was kind of like when you're not allowed to take off your Mickey Mouse head at Disney World. Like it's a fireable offense. He shouldn't be walking around in front of the kids. And also, it was Christmas Eve. It's dark, and Santa's still walking around in front of the kids. Shouldn't he be out in the sleigh delivering presents at that point? So those were just a few. I have more, but I'm going to save some for you guys.
I want you to rewatch this movie through a child's eyes or through Brand's eyes, Scott. I think it'll be a different experience for you. I only have a couple.
I mean, I had 3 of those that Scott had.
I know. That's not something to be proud of,
The measurement
Scott.
of the nutcracker.
It's not something to be proud of that you're sharing Wait What's with a monster. I have a couple.
My inner Dan.
I know that Evergreen's whole thing, the Evergreen Streets block, whatever. This whole thing is Christmas. I am intrigued by whoever originally came up with the idea of putting a full giant Christmas tree with presents in the middle of the cul-de-sac all month long.
It's in effect in the road.
It is.
And where was the cord? Where was the cord is what I want to know.
I guess you can put a thing over top of it and hope for the best.
I looked all through all the scenes. You never see a cord anywhere. I want that magic tree.
My last one is, you know what? You want to lie about, how this all is coming together or do so. I don't know how it all came together, her coming and like, what if she didn't come, all that good stuff. But what is a tough thing to lie about is donating all of your lawn ornaments to charity. Because that's what that dad did. He lied about donating his lawn ornaments to charity.
That's impressive.
That's a tough lie. That's a tough lie. Let's say you're giving it to anyone else. Can't say you're donating to charity.
No.
Can't do that.
I gave it away to the people in need.
Gave it away to the kids.
Just kidding. I kept it.
I kept all of it. I couldn't bear with it. Dan?
The big problem, only really big problem I have with this movie is that I thought for the world the parents weren't actually moving to Florida. And the reason I thought that is because them moving to Florida does not make any sense. And here's why. Is if she doesn't break up with her boyfriend and FaceTime her parents, then this whole thing doesn't work. Like, what was their plan had she not broken up with her boyfriend? Well, to just leave? Because the whole thing is
what I mean when I say the plot makes no sense whatsoever.
And I'm willing to give it like bypass it for the fact that I think it leans into its absurdity and it's
what part of the plan do you have a hard time with?
Okay, when she gets to town, when she's on the phone with him, they're going crazy. Like, you've got to bring her here. You've got to bring her here because we have to have somebody to do all these things for us.
No.
That's what they say. As soon as she arrives, they say it's
I understand why they say that because they want her to fall in love with the town.
But even Wes Brown says it's required.
I understand.
Okay.
But the reason why it's important that you saw them take down the Christmas decorations because they already had everything planned.
They only took down a tree behind her. They
had everything already set up.
They were just staging that for her. They didn't have the whole house.
No.
They didn't take all that stuff down in a day. No.
Yeah.
They were just staging a call.
No.
Yes.
The Christmas tree wasn't even behind them.
Yes, it was.
It was to the side.
It was right behind it.
I am completely convinced that they had everything ready to go.
The house was empty.
But listen to how this makes sense. Listen to how it makes sense.
It was just staged, Brandon.
But that does. But
Everybody
what I'm saying,
saw the same thing, but you.
No, I saw what you saw. I'm
Okay.
just saying the way that you make it make sense is they took everything down because they wanted her to fall in love with the house. That way they can keep the house in the family and keep it going. So you take everything down, you let her do it all herself and realize that it's fun.
But they didn't know she was coming home until
I
the
know
day
they
of.
they were gonna sell it.
But they
I'm
already,
just saying. Listen, when you find out that you're, that's why he's off camera. This is how it made sense in my mind. The reason why dad is off camera is because he hears that she's coming home and he comes up with this plan. Hey, get her here. We'll take down everything.
In the moment, he thinks of all this.
Yes.
They're literally leaving in 12 hours. This made a lot more sense if they're faking going to Florida and they just wanted her back home.
Right.
And they give her the house to go move somewhere else. The fact that they're leaving to Florida and then this falls in their lap 12 hours before they leave was just did not work for me at all. And it
the chat is pointing out the code red and green. Wouldn't that have to have been pre-planned?
You would think so.
They had some sort of plan in place.
Yeah. Clearly that was my thing is that this movie comes full circle if they actually lend you they let everyone be in on it.
Someone says they agree with me. The dad radioed everyone, and that was a code to take down all the decorations.
The code was she's coming to town. I took that as the code was she's coming to town.
Did I.
Which is now you've got the ability
to
make her stay.
But why does it matter if she's coming to town?
Because they want to get her to stay. That I have no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
it doesn't make any sense that the parents would leave, though.
That's right.
I'm with you, Dan. That doesn't make any sense at all, and that's what bothered me. And the movie showed its hand in the first 5 minutes of, hey, there's something weird going on here because he's radioing people. And at that point, I was like, well, what am I watching for? I'm planning to be surprised, and I didn't like it.
If you're going to lean into that, just make it a full bit where they were just on a green screen and they were actually here helping the whole time. I'd have been fine with that at that point.
I feel like the true answer is somewhere in between all of us.
Well, I just don't know how that family, if they're.
Because someone here is thought that they only left because she was coming home. Otherwise, they would have stayed.
Their flight was in 12 hours because she said, I'm coming home tonight. And they were like, no, tomorrow.
Right. They need time to book a flight.
No, what they clearly were going to Florida anyway.
So why did they say don't come tonight? You think they needed to?
What's the reason? What's the reason for her not coming?
The reason that they're not coming tonight is because then she will either leave and go home or talk them out of leaving. The only way this works is if they're walking out the door when she's walking in, and he knows that, right?
But she could have just left anyway.
If she shows up and they are going to be there that night, then the jig is up. She'll go somewhere else. She'll go home. By the time,
but if you're going to leave, wouldn't you leave?
When they show up, they're like, "Well, you got to do all these things. Here you go." That's the thing is they're walking out.
She's already
and
there.
then she's there, and she's locked into doing all this. Please do it for us. Thanks. Bye. That was why it worked. If she shows up and they have a whole night, she's like, "I'm not going to do this.
Yep.
I'm not being a part of this. I'm out of here." That was the whole.
And that's what I would have done. First 5 minutes, I would have been off at the Marriott or something. And that's what I mean when I say they set her up to fail.
If you would leave the night before, you would leave the day.
The other thing is for these parents who, the best we can figure is they're awful. Right? They don't let their kid opens gifts. Yeah. It was all about just doing all the traditions for the town and never about their family ever. It would have all been okay with me had they still wanted to live in town and celebrate with their kid. But not only were they terrible to their kid when she was little, they really are moving to Florida. Yeah. They really are leaving to not experience it with her still. And that did bother me from stem to stern.
Right.
That part of this movie, the parents part of this movie did bother me. The
parents moving bothers me.
The only other
nothing to bother me.
Fair. The only other what I had, because I did have a few others, him not having his Santa beard on, definite. No rules in the snowball fight, plenty of rules. All those, the tree in the middle had all those. The only one I have is that it was clearly very hot when they filmed this movie because the snow doesn't look real, but also, and I hate to break this to you, you're filming with mountains in the background, and all of those mountains, none of them have any snow on them, not digital or otherwise. They are green as can be. That's your giveaway. If the mountains aren't snowy, then it's probably not snowy wherever you are at that time. That's all I got.
Mountains were beautiful, though.
They were wonderful.
I do think they shot it in Utah, which is great.
Yeah.
One more thing, that if there were HOA violations, it would not be up to the president to arbitrarily decide what a punishment would be. There would be rules and procedures outlined in the CCRs. So that didn't make any sense to me either.
Gosh, CCR though, so good. They're so good.
CCR's great.
They're great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what the Hallmark Inspired show we wonder what could have been. Maybe I can get some clarity. What should we still have? What are you still wondering about, Brian?
One thing I left wondering about was, is the plan among all the residents to ensure or try their best to hand down their property to someone they know or to their family? Because Wes's character is staying in the neighborhood, them just handing the house to her, just giving her the key, saying it's your property now. Like, do they want to keep that neighborhood family owned, so they can have these rules? Maybe it's a part of the condition that they have these bylaws, and it's because no outsiders ever come in to change anything.
Well, I'll just piggyback on that for mine, because mine is how rich are her parents? Like, to have this giant house and to just be able to, like, we've already paid it off. You can have it. Yeah. We're going to go buy a new place with our what money? Like, not the money we got from selling the house.
Not the $1 million home that we gave away.
No, that we can just give away. We can buy something else down in Florida. That's a lot of money. That's like generational money. So that was mine. So I got that. Mine's done.
Sure. Scotty?
I already mentioned the tree in the middle of the street with no cord. I really want to know how that worked. I also want to know what they're planning to do here. They said they're looking at a condo. The HOA has no holiday rules. I know I'm very HOA heavy today. I'm on the side of the HOA here. And they said, don't worry, we're already drafting amendments. I've been part of the process to change HOA rules before. When I lived in Florida, we had a string of burglaries, and I wanted to put up a camera on the outside of my house. And the rules in those CCRs were, if it's not explicitly stated in the rules, it's not allowed. So there was no rule about a camera, so we had to come up with a rule. Typically, to change an HOA rule, it takes a majority vote by all the people that live there. So 3/4 of the people or 2/3 of the people usually. So are they just planning to come in and just tear up the place and start coming up with holiday rules? Good luck with that.
There's
man, Scott's making HOA sound so cool.
So awesome. There's been more HOA talk than I ever imagined in this episode. I mean, so much about the.
You shouldn't have invited me.
We found the pro HOA guy, everybody. We found the one. Yep. I've got a couple. I do want to know more about that woman's poncho phase. It just sounds fun. I want to know about Ned's free Christmas tree lot in front of his house.
Yeah, come on.
Ned's front yard is a free Christmas tree lot.
Maybe
did he also have the taxidermy reindeer? Was he the one?
Yes.
Of course. Why didn't he use those? Like, if they're so rare.
They were in a parking garage.
A parking garage.
A rare set of taxidermy Santa's reindeer.
Not those common ones.
A rare one.
Ones.
A complete set.
But my biggest one is this. She now owns a house on Evergreen Street. Jared also owns a house on Evergreen Street. Yep. Assuming everything works out well, maybe one day they get married. What are we doing with the
build a bridge?
You're building a bridge? Are we keeping both houses? Because if they do if they do end up getting married, then we're back to where we started here, where the house is most likely going to go outside of the family, right? So I don't know what's going to happen here.
Her friend could move
it's
in.
not.
Her friend could move in.
They're going to do this movie next year.
Her friend and Palaha's in.
Come on.
Yeah.
Emily only dates doofuses, so it's not going to work out. There's nothing to worry about.
No, don't you talk about Jared that way.
HOA would not allow it.
We did, everybody. Congratulations. Scotty, I'll see you tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that.
And the day after that and the day after that, all the way.
That's exactly right.
To the big day.
The big day. We'll come by again. We'll find out. Christmas Morning Podcast. Subscribe and listen every day leading up to Christmas. Guys, we'll be back tomorrow and every day after that.
Every day.
What have I done? Until then, maybe the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Deck the Hallmark is the That Sounds Fun podcast. It's produced by Tracy Millis Name. It's recorded live in that Greenville, South Carolina. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com.